Midnight light on a dim-lit screen, clicking through stories you wouldn't believe. Cold case trails and courtroom scenes, whispers from the grave and media dreams. Truth is stranger, hearts beat faster, in the shadows of a news disaster. Scrolling deep where secrets hide, you found the stories time won't deny. Headstones and headlines, the tales collide. Justice and mystery, side by side. From backwoods clubs to breaking news lines, you shine a light where the silence lies. Oh, headstones and headlines, you dig where the truth won't die. Small town rumors and urban fear, a voice for the lost who can't speak here. Through every name, through every case, you hold the truth in a steady place. Cameras roll but justice lingers, truth unravels through careful fingers. You tell the story, speak their names in a world that's quick to look away. Headstones and headlines, the tales collide. Justice and mystery, side by side. From backwoods crimes to great night trials, you trace the echoes through every mile. Oh, headstones and headlines, you dig where the truth won't die. Some run from the dark, you walk right in with a question and a camera lens. It's not just a crime, it's the lives they led. The voice is still talking from the books unread. Headstones and headlines, the veil is thin. Truth gets louder when you begin. With every view, with every line, you bring the forgotten back to life. Oh, headstones and headlines, you dig where the truth won't die. Yeah, headstones and headlines, you tell the stories that time can't hide.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. Hopefully you had a good day. My day wasn't bad. I was exhausted this morning. But thankfully we didn't have students today. We just had meetings and we got an hour for lunch today as opposed to like a 15-minute break. So I went to my parents and it was pretty chilly out, even at noontime. When I woke up this morning, it was 32 degrees. And I almost turned on the heat, but I didn't. It's still too early. I try to wait until the end of October before I turn on the heat. So I'm not sure if I'll last that long, but I'm going to try. So I know yesterday I had said I was going to go live on my second channel, but there were updates in the Robert Brooks death trial. So I wanted to go over them. A lot of graphic details were testified to today in court by the medical examiner. There are also some updates on the 29-year-old who is accused of starting the Palisades fire. So I wanted to just talk about that. And then there is a story that I saw in very quickly as I was scrolling through YouTube. And I was like, what? what is happening here? So we're going to just touch on that at the end. And if we decide to, we can look into it further. But it was just a very strange story, in my opinion. And I just realized I didn't do the poll. Emmy is slacking today. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. There's the poll. Totally forgot. And if you haven't checked out my community page, definitely do so. I stopped at my sister's after work today and got to visit the foster kitten that she ended up adopting. And so I just posted a picture of her that I took today. She is the cutest thing. She doesn't like to be held because she just wants to run, as kittens do. But I did spend some time with her and I got some kitten therapy. So it was really nice. It was really nice. All right. So we are going to get started. And so this is day 5 of the trial of 3 correctional officers who are being tried together for the beating death of Robert Brooks, who was, well, he was an inmate at Mohawk Correctional Facility, and he was transported to Marcy, which is literally across the street. And Mohawk isn't across the street. What is the one that is across the street? Hold on. Now I'm getting confused. 1 second. My brain is like not working. Marcy Correctional. Maybe I am right. Hold on. I need to, Mid-State is across. So I was incorrect. Mohawk is about, I think it was about a 30 to 45 minute drive. It's Mid-State Correctional is across the street from Marcy. So he was being transported from Mohawk to Marcy. Once he arrived at Marcy, there were body cam footage of correctional officers carrying Mr. Brooks in. He was not walking. He seemed unconscious to me. He went to the infirmary where these correctional officers beat him to death. As the prosecutor said in opening statements, once he arrived at Marcy, he was dead 30 minutes later. So I've seen a few creators. I know Duty Ron is covering this, which is great. And a lot of other creators that I see touching on this are saying that mainstream media is hiding the details because there's not a lot of coverage. That's not true. That's not true. Sure, there's not cameras in the courtroom, but that doesn't mean that there's information being hidden from the public. It just means that they haven't looked in the right spot. So there's that. And I didn't even say hi to everybody. I'm really slacking. It's just weird not going live like as soon as I get home and then I get ready for my live. And today I had stuff to do. Coddle, thanks for being here. Nanny, Lunatic. Angie, good to see you. Lunatic says, it is Friday. When I homeschooled, that never mattered, but I get to enjoy it now. Well, that is very good. Hey, Pookie, good to see you. Sinner. Citizen, thanks for being here. Yeah. All right, so we're going to get started. And as I said, some of these, I did read this ahead of time because I had seen that the medical examiner was the first witness for today. And some of the injuries and descriptors could be distressing to some viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. So medical examiner of Brooks' body, Dr. Yiterima Merkalua, Katya, I'm just going to refer to her as Katya, is questioned by the prosecution. She is a medical examiner for the Onondaga County Medical Offices, which includes autopsies. The prosecution questions her. They ask her to specify what an autopsy is to the jury. She has also performed 508 autopsies in her career. She explains the difference between cause of death and manner of death. For example, if someone were to be pushed down the stairs, the cause of death would be blunt force trauma, and the manner of death would be attempted murder, or what caused the death to happen. She explains she was the doctor who examined Robert Brooks. Brooks was officially pronounced dead at 3:52 a.m. December 10th. She viewed records and videos after the autopsy was completed. She knew about the initial assault from the inmates before arriving at Marcy. And we did learn that yesterday that he had puked on the floor in his cube at night and then the following morning. And other prisoners were upset that he didn't clean up his mess and started punching him. Well, they hit him with a sock with a lock inside of it. And he did have some swelling on, his face where they had hit him with that. She says the injuries sustained by the inmates did not contribute to Brooks's death. Because I feel like that is what the defense attorneys are trying to present, that they didn't kill Mr. Brooks, that his injuries were caused by the altercation he had with inmates prior. The video speaks for itself. She confirms there were no fractures to his face or head, and there was also no evidence of trauma from these injuries, referring to the incident with the inmates before arriving at Marcy. Dr. Katya says she performed a toxicology report on Brooks as well. A toxicologist reviews the tests as well. The test confirmed MDMB or K2 in Brooks's blood, which causes the body to make them feel relaxed, less anxious, alleviate pain, etc. She says, there have been rare reports of people dying from it, end quote. She clarifies that the finding of the K2 did not contribute to Brooks's death. She explains that Brooks was 5'11" and 148 pounds. He asks her to clarify again that the injuries sustained. She explains how she can establish the injuries from before arriving at Marcy and after. She says it has a lot to do with color and the way the bruises differentiate. So she can tell which injuries were from the inmate incident and which injuries were from the Marcy beating. Hey, Connie. She explains that there was evidence of asphyxiation on Brooks and blunt force trauma from the Marcy injuries. She later says there was blood in his mouth, which also made it to his airway and stomach, which indicates he was breathing blood. She also says no pre-existing conditions of Brooks contributed to his death. She confirms there was compression around the neck of Brooks after finding multiple injuries in that area during the autopsy. She said this indicates it was done while he was alive. This man suffered a horrific death. She also again said this determined that, quote, he was breathing in blood while he was alive, end quote. She confirms bleeding in the liver, hemorrhage in the bladder, bleeding in the bladder from trauma, genitalia trauma, injuries to the penis, and injuries to the testicles. She later confirms injuries and bruises to the knee, leg, and ankle with contusions, and these were all from the Marcy incident. Internal damage in the neck, injuries in the front, injuries of the airway, right and left sides of the neck. Prosecution asks, was there any single blow that caused the death of Brooks? She says no. They then ask, if Mr. Brooks had been in the clinic, would he have survived? She says no. She says the cause of death was compression of the neck and multiple blunt neck and back injuries. The manner of death for Brooks is homicide. The prosecution ends its questioning. So sad. Okay, so then we got to scroll back up. Okay, so the defense lawyers now question Dr. Katya. Kingsley's lawyer asks her if she knows he was administered Narcan. She says yes, but cannot tell how many times it was administered. They asked her if she knew he had asthma in the past. She said there was no evidence of lung disease in autopsy, and it was not a cause of death for Brooks. She confirms there were life-saving measures conducted for Brooks. They ask, can the mechanism used on Brooks's chest to save his life cause injury? She says yes. She later says both external and internal injuries led to Brooks's death. Gallagher's lawyer now takes the podium for questions. Just asks her about his nose injuries. Kiefer's lawyer has no questions. Cross-examination ends. So, not much from the defense with the medical examiner. Ooh, this one is very long. Okay. Robert Kessler. I believe Kessler is one of those who took a deal. Okay, so let's see, June 3rd, 2025. Let me just take a look at this. Well, I thought this was going to have something about him in it. Okay, so Kessler was named, but this article says his name is in it, and it's not. Here it is. So yes, he actually took a plea. He took a plea deal to gang assault. Actually, let's take a look at this article because it talks about So it says, former Marcy Correctional Facility Corrections Officer Robert Kessler took a plea to gang assault in the trial of 3 of his former colleagues on trial for the murder of inmate Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility in December. Friday in court, he testified for the prosecution. He said the night Brooks came to Marcy from Mohawk Correctional Facility, he was frustrated and angry over work aggravation, so he punched Brooks twice in the ribs with a closed fist and delivered multiple peroneal blows to Brooks's leg, temporarily disabling blows to a nerve just above the knee. Wow. So he took out his frustration and anger over work on Mr. Brooks. Yes, he is a state witness. There's going to be 2. They had said Robert Kessler, and there's another one that's going to be testifying. So Kessler said former CO Walrath assaulted Brooks without provocation, putting him in a headlock, which he said officers are not allowed to do. Kessler said defendant Nicholas Kiefer pepper sprayed Brooks for no reason, while Brooks was chest down on the ground. He testified that he saw every person in the room at the Marcy Infirmary at one point strike Brooks. He added that Walrath had to be pulled off of Brooks, saying Walrath essentially, quote, lost it. Kessler will spend 5 to 7 years in state prison in exchange for his guilty plea to gang assault. Testimony resumes Tuesday at 10 a.m. because Monday is a holiday. All right, so he's spending 5 to 7 years in state prison. And there is a photo of Mr. Kessler. Good point, Evil Queen. Defense probably knew it wouldn't look good to cross-examine. I mean, you can't argue with a medical professional that, you know, clearly is good at their job. So let's see what this says. A former Marcy correctional officer, Robert Kessler, who was serving 5 to 7 years for the Marcy incident, is now questioned by the prosecution. They ask him about the night of the incident at Marcy Correctional Facility. An employee that night asked him to be the officer who transferred Robert Brooks to a room in Marcy, and he said no multiple times because it wasn't his responsibility. It was one of the other officers. He ends up going to the van that had Robert Brooks inside, coming from Mohawk. He says Robert Brooks was looking into space and was silent when he arrived. He says he didn't want to carry his bags, but Kessler said he would carry one, but Brooks had to carry the other. When they came inside, Brooks said he wasn't carrying the bag anymore, so Kessler left it up front. Then they walked to another area of the prison, and Kessler asked him to place his hands, quote, deep in his pockets, and Kessler says he placed his hands only knuckle deep in his pockets. So remember when they had talked about this, one of the lawyers had asked about, oh my God, I lost the word, procedure, right? And they had said, like, if you were to tell someone, the commissioner, that's who they were asking. They asked the commissioner, if you were to tell a prisoner to put their hands in their pockets, should they do it? And the commissioner said, well, that's a really strange request. I'm not sure why you would ask them to do that. This is why. This is why. So here, Kessler was pissed off because this wasn't his job, but he was told that he had to do it. Prosecution asks, has Brooks threatened you in any way during this? Kessler says no. Kessler says, well, I was talking to him. Officer Walrath. Oh, see, there must be speaking into something because that's not how you spell it. Officer Walrath came up quickly and assaulted him by pushing him against the wall and placing him into a headlock. He says Kiefer witnessed this. So they just started beating him up for no reason? He says he reacted and, quote, out of all of the frustration, I hit Brooks multiple times, which he then admits to the jury wasn't necessary. This is confusing the way they have this written because he was talking to Brooks, but then another officer came up and pushed him against the wall and placed him into a headlock, and then he punched him several times. The assault ended and he viewed Brooks's prior injury from Mohawk on his face, which had been split open as a result of this assault from Walrath. They continued to move him, and Brooks was walking slowly at this point from the assault, which Kessler said isn't surprising. Kessler says, we stopped because Kiefer told us to put him down. They set him down, but Kessler says that Kiefer says they put him on the ground because he, quote, needs to spray him. Kessler then explains that Kiefer then sprayed Brooks with pepper spray. Brooks was face down on the ground when pepper sprayed. He did not try to get up during this. Kessler says there wasn't a threat from Brooks before he was pepper sprayed by Kiefer. The officers then initiated a red dot call for assistance. Kessler says that was unnecessary and Brooks wasn't giving them any trouble. Kessler then explains that he and another officer placed Brooks in handcuffs and he did not resist. The response from the red dot call showed up. Gallagher and Kingsley were part of this response team. The prosecution asked Kessler to identify the defendants in the courtroom who were a part of the above situation. They then walked Brooks to the infirmary and Marcy. They didn't walk him. No, wait a minute. So maybe on the way, initially he was walking, but what we saw, Mr. Brooks was being carried by his hands and feet. So it says, they then walk Brooks to the infirmary and Marcy. Brooks is walking on his own, but notes that it is slow. Kessler felt Brooks, was trying to get away from him, so he struck him twice in the ribs with his fists. Then he determined he wasn't pulling away, and it was just former Officer Kingsley pulling him to the other side. What the hell? Yeah, they were just having a bad day. Like, this is ridiculous. So you think he's trying to get away from you, but it's the other officer pulling him towards him. Like, what the hell, dude? Kessler says there was no need to strike him at that point and says it was out of frustration and anger. They then pick him up and carry him to the infirmary, even though he was walking on his own. I don't believe that. I do not believe that at all. Anyways, Kessler is then relieved by other staff to leave. He then witnesses another officer start to assault Brooks, and he says he witnesses every other officer in the room also begin to assault him, which includes Kingsley. He says Mr. Brooks was in handcuffs during this and was not resisting. Kessler said while witnessing this, he did nothing. Brooks was then moved to a wall in the infirmary, and Kessler says he appeared limp and not able to stand on his own. Kessler then said he went into the room and began taking his restraints off. He wanted to take his boots off, so they moved him back to the bed. Kessler says he appeared in distress. Kessler then says they begin to strip him, and he says Brooks wasn't helping at all, so he grabbed him by the shirt, and Brooks had a, quote, gargled, mumbled sound. In my opinion, that was him being suffocated by his own blood. So Kessler was watching, and because Brooks wasn't helping take his clothes off because he was in distress, he decided to grab him by the shirt. Kessler said he was later with other officers to talk about a, quote, narrative of what happened in case they got questioned about it. And Kessler says it was not accurate of what actually happened. Kiefer was a part of this conversation. They planned not to mention all of the assaults that happened to Brooks, only some. Kessler says Kiefer also wanted to say the pepper spray wasn't effective. In other words, they planned to lie about the incident. Kessler is then shown his use of force report he filled out from the night of Brooks's death. He put in the report that he was screaming, acting erratically, and kicking. Was that true? The prosecution asks. Kessler says no. Prosecution then asks, did you intentionally omit the other parts of the assault from your report? Kessler says yes. He then shows Kessler Kiefer's report from that night of December 9th. In that report, Kiefer says that Brooks was again screaming, acting erratically, and kicking. Kessler says that is a lie. Kiefer also says in his report that after he sprayed Brooks with the pepper spray, he was still acting erratically and says he was resisting. Kessler says this is a lie. Kessler reiterated that their fake narrative, Kessler and Kiefer, to put in their report was discussed together. Prosecution ends their questioning. Yeah. He was just a punching bag at that point. Caudle, yes, he did. But I don't think it was racial at all. I think it was a superiority complex. They felt that they could take their aggressions off on this man because for whatever. It's disgusting. Okay, so actually the defense asks a lot of questions. Yeah, power trip, narcissists, assholes. I mean, okay. Robert Kessler is now cross-examined by the defense attorneys. Kiefer's lawyer asked him again about the events that night of December 9th. This lawyer makes the point that Brooks initially didn't comply with getting out of the van to come into Marcy, same with him carrying his bags. The lawyer asks him to clarify that Brooks was in leg restraints and handcuffs and a waist chain when coming into the building from the van. The lawyer then asks if Brooks dropped the bag while walking, and Kessler says yes. Lawyer then says, so he wasn't following a lawful order. Kessler says yes. So it's a lawful order to say carry your bag? Well, I guess. I mean, is that a law that prisoners have to carry their own bags into the prison when they're being transferred? I don't know. Brooks is then later moved after this point, and he is unrestrained. Kessler then tells Brooks to put his hands deep in his pockets, as said prior in this post. The lawyer asked if he was being non-compliant by not placing his hands deep in his pockets. Kessler says yes. The lawyer then asks him, you don't know why Mr. Walworth came up and shoved Brooks against the wall, right? Kessler says correct. Lawyer then asks, could Brooks have done something to cause Mr. Walworth to do this that you didn't see? Kessler says, I am not sure. Lawyer says, he was then placed in a headlock and assaulted by Walworth, correct? Kessler says yes. Lawyer then asks, so then Kiefer assisted because he saw his fellow employee in an altercation, and that is protocol, correct? Kessler says yes. Somebody then says to stop, according to Kessler. Lawyer asks if Kessler was frustrated during this incident, and Kessler says yes. Lawyer asks, this whole part of the assault was started by Mr. Walworth, correct? Kessler says yes. And Walworth, if I remember, let me Google his name. I think his first name was Christopher. Christopher Walworth, Marcy. Yes, Christopher Walworth. So I'm just going to read this quickly. Where's the paragraph about him? So in May, Christopher R. Walworth became the first officer in the case to plead guilty. He was one of 6 officers facing murder charges, but agreed to plead guilty to manslaughter. On August 4th, he was sentenced by County Court Judge Robert Bauer to 15 years in prison. And I find it interesting how some of them pled guilty because they knew what really happened, and then you have these 3 who would not take plea deals and who wanted to come to trial. I mean, I think 15 years compared to, 25 to life is a pretty good deal. Oh no, Heather, you got a no seatbelt ticket today while door dashing. Aw, that still sucks though. Okay, so then they took a lunch break. Jury resumes after lunch. Wow, they took a late lunch break. But then again, they're not starting until like 10 or 10:30. So I guess it's... Okay, so after lunch, Kiefer's lawyer continues asking Kessler questions about how the pepper spray was used, what the effects are, and whether it is allowed to be used when an officer thinks necessary. Kessler explains that pepper spray should only be used when an officer thinks they are getting a threat from an inmate. He gave the example, you can't just pepper spray someone for not talking to you, but you can if they are charging at you. Brooks was face down on the floor at the time he was sprayed by former Officer Kiefer. So clearly he wasn't charging at anyone if he's face down on the ground. The lawyer then shows the video in the courtroom. This is just showing in the video everything he has asked Kessler so far. The video then shows Brooks being carried by the arms and legs into the building. Hey, curious. Oh no, Heather. And my husband's chemo medicine is delayed yet another week. That is awful. I hope they come soon. Oh, you're fine, Heather. You're fine. You're not being rude at all. Okay, so then it says the lawyer then shows the video in the courtroom. Oh, wait, I just read that. It seems like Kiefer's lawyer is trying to argue that Kiefer had limited involvement in the death of Brooks in the video. Kiefer was not seen in the treatment room where Brooks was afterward. He was in the hallway doing something at a desk. Let me scroll back down because now I don't remember if he... Okay, so here, Kiefer showed up because Kiefer was part of the special team to come help. Oh, Kiefer is the one who pepper sprayed him. Okay, so then he doesn't mention Kiefer again. Oh, wait. So according to that, Kiefer is the one who pepper sprayed him. Okay. Kessler remembers no one in the room at the time of Brooks being beaten by the other officers, saying words along the lines of stop, enough, cut it out, etc. He also said no one said the word stop resisting, which assumes the argument that Brooks was not resisting while taking the beating. The lawyer asks if Kiefer is in the room at the time this is happening, and Kessler says no. Lawyer asks Kessler, did you have a duty and opportunity to intervene? Kessler says yes. Lawyer then says, and you didn't? Kessler says, correct. Kessler then later refers to the time when he himself wasn't in the room, but that doesn't dismiss the fact of duty to intervene. He said, even though I wasn't in the room, I should have still intervened. They then move on to what Kessler had to fill out the paperwork for the use of force on Brooks after he left in the ambulance. He views Kessler's and Kiefer's use of force paperwork that was submitted. Lawyer asks, were you advised by a sergeant or a lieutenant to revise their report work before the final hand-in? Kessler says yes. A sergeant told us to tweak it for misspelling. Kessler then says, every draft and final draft we wrote up were inaccurate to what actually happened. The drafts that were shredded were per protocol. Kessler says they cannot have multiple versions of the form in existence. Lawyer asks, who told you to craft the story in your report form? Kessler says Sergeant Trombley. Kiefer's lawyer ends their questioning. Okay, so let me see. Trombley. Let me see if I can see. I wish I had this all written down in front of me. And I don't remember Trombley's first name. All right, let's see. Maybe this one has it. Trombley. Okay, not sure what Trombley. That article did not have anything about him. Okay. So Kiefer's lawyer ends their questioning. Gallagher's lawyer now takes the podium to question Kessler. He asked to clarify that Gallagher didn't arrive at the incident until after Officer Walworth assaulted Brooks against the wall. Kessler confirms that. Gallagher's lawyer ends his questioning. What? That's it? So he didn't ask any questions about his client being a part of the beating. He only asked whether or not he was there before Brooks was slammed against the wall. Kingsley's lawyer now takes the podium to question Kessler. At one point during this questioning, Kessler says, Mohawk facility doesn't do their fucking job. They are lazy. They will do anything they can not to take an inmate somewhere. Wow, was he getting angry? The lawyer asked Kessler if he believed the incident was over after he had been pepper sprayed. Kessler says yes. Referring to another part of the assault, the lawyer asked Kessler if the supervisor told Kingsley and the other officer to put Brooks in the corner. He says yes, but the supervisor never said why. He ends his questioning with Kessler. So the only lawyer was Kiefer's. Kiefer's lawyer is the one who asked the majority of questions. And Kiefer allegedly only pepper sprayed him. That's crazy to me. All right, so moving. Oh, and that was it. Trial for day 5 ends at 4:04 p.m. And they will be back on Tuesday because Monday is Columbus Day. Weak defense. Yeah, I mean, the video in itself shows the jury everything I feel they need to know. And then to have that testimony from the medical examiner stating all of his injuries and being able to determine that the reason Mr. Brooks died was because of the beating. He was alive when he was, breathing his own blood. And I know that's graphic, but I mean, I hope that the prosecution reiterated that and because the more the jury hears what actually happened to Mr. Brooks and how he suffered unnecessarily, this is just, let me see if I can find a news clip. Let's see. Because local news, they should have something up. Oh, there it is, 1 hour ago. 15. So usually, we have 4 o'clock news, 4:30 news here. All right, so let me add. No, pause, please. I'm not ready for you to start. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Week one of the Marcy prison guard trial is complete. The prosecution now deep into its case.
Aside from the video footage, testimony from a fellow officer could be what implicates the 3 former prison guards on trial. News Channel 9's Andrew Donovan joining us live again tonight. He's right outside of Oneida County Court. Andrew, the jury, they got a lot of new information today?
Yeah, Christy, most of what jurors have heard until this point over this past week was likely what they already knew going in, what all of us already have learned since this happened last December. But this former correction officer who was there for the beating is now bringing forward never heard before information because he was there and will eventually go to prison for his role, but has made a deal with the prosecution. Robert Kessler's testimony is evidence beyond what's been shown in the video, claiming what's seen in the footage is the third of 3 assaults. He was able to detail the first 2 and how he remembers each of the 3 officers on trial
That's
being
key
involved.
for right there.
Kessler wasn't part of the group of officers indicted earlier this year because he was already cooperating as a witness. He will plead guilty to his role and spend at least 5 years in prison. But of course, he has, to the prosecution, expressed disappointment and self-reflection and being upset that he ever had anything to do with this. So he is remorseful. That's why he pled guilty, but is trying to find justice by holding some of his coworkers accountable. Now, the jury gets a 3-day weekend. Court is closed on Monday for the Columbus Day holiday, so they'll have to keep all of this information in their heads. They're not allowed to talk about any of this in public or with anyone, and they'll have to come back on Tuesday as the prosecution continues making its case. Live in Utica, Andrew Donovan, News Channel 9.
Oh, look, there's Daisy Link. Daisy. I'm actually going to talk about her at the very end. Oh my gosh, this girl, man. All right, so let's see. That video wasn't very long. Let's see, let me look up Marcy trial day 5. Their clips aren't very long at all. And I guess maybe that's where, you know, some of the creators that I've watched regarding this case are saying that they're trying to hide things from the public, but I don't think that's the case. It seems like the news is getting details. If they're inside the courtroom, they're able to type things and then post it. But, you know, this should be a huge trial. Huge. And the only people that I've seen covering it is local media. This should be national news. And it's not. Let me just look if there's anything. Trial updates. If there's any newspaper sources that. All right, so here's 1 hour ago. All right, so. All right, so this will summarize kind of everything that I just read. So the trial of 3 former corrections officers accused of the beating death of Marcy correctional inmate Robert Brooks continues with testimony from the medical examiner. In Oneida County Court on Tuesday, the doctor testified that Brooks was breathing blood and detailed his internal injuries. She said the cause of death was compression of the neck and multiple blunt impact injuries. Cameras are only permitted during opening and closing statements, so the actual testimony remains unrecorded. Oh, well, that wasn't a very big article. Let's see what this says. I mean, look at this, 52 seconds. A 52-second news clip.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This morning, the medical examiner who performed the autopsy on inmate Robert Brooks, the prosecution's 9th witness so far, took the stand in the trial of 3 former
There
correctional
has been,
facility
I
officers
haven't
accused
seen a
of
thing.
Brooks' murder. The doctor testified that Brooks was breathing blood.
When it first happened, I remember seeing it in a lot of places, but now that the trial started, I'm really only seeing updates on local news stations. Hey, Ocean Tide, how are you? Nanny says, I wonder if the verdict will come back fairly quickly. That's a lot on the jurors, even if it's a slam dunk. I don't know. And I guess it depends. I mean, the prosecution definitely has a really strong case. I'm curious as to who the defense will call as witnesses, if anyone. We'll have to see. They're saying they only thought it was going to be a 2-week trial, and the first week is done. So we'll see. Oh, not about the case. Okay. Okay. All right. So I lost my page here.
And she spent several minutes describing his internal injuries. She said his cause of death was compression of the neck and multiple blunt impact injuries. Once again, our cameras are only allowed in for opening statements and closing statements. This is video from Tuesday's opening arguments in the case. So all of the actual testimony going on during the trial, we are not allowed to record. Our own Jolene Ferris is in court, and she will have much more on the testimony today, as well as other testimony for you tonight at 5 and 6.
Okay, so 5 and 6. Well, it's 6:22. Let's see if there's anything. Oh, here's one. Let's take a look at this one. 24 minutes ago. Or not. I thought there was going to be a video, but whoops. Whoa, that's way too big. Okay. So former Marcy Correctional Facility Corrections Officer Robert Kessler took a plea to gang assault in the trial of 3 of his former colleagues on trial for the murder of inmate Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility in December. Friday in court, he testified for the prosecution in the murder trial of former colleagues David Kingsley, Nicholas Kiefer, and Matthew Gallagher. He said the night Brooks came to Marcy from Mohawk Correctional Facility, he was frustrated and angry over work aggravation, so he punched Brooks twice in the ribs with a closed fist and delivered multiple peroneal blows to Brooks' leg, temporarily disabling blows to a nerve just above the knee. And I mean, it's probably good he took the deal, because that's nuts. He said former CO Walrath assaulted Brooks without provocation, putting him in a headlock, which he said officers are not allowed to do. Kessler said defendant Nicholas Kiefer pepper sprayed Brooks for no reason while Brooks was chest down on the ground. He testified that he saw every person in the room at Marcy Infirmary at one point strike Brooks. He added that Walrath had to be pulled off of Brooks, saying Walrath essentially, quote, lost it. Sick. Kessler will spend 5 to 7 years in state prison in exchange for his guilty plea to gang assault. Also on the witness stand Friday, the medical examiner, I feel like I already read this, who performed the autopsy on Robert Brooks and testified that his manner of death was homicide. Cause of death, compression of the neck, and multiple blunt impact injuries. She also testified that Brooks had breathed in blood and that there was blood in his stomach. It's awful. Okie dokie. So we are. I do too. Yeah, I do too. I wonder, let me see if I can find, why aren't cameras being allowed in, let's see. So here is why. It is a New York statute. I did not know this. Based on New York state law, the trial for the Marcy Correctional Facility inmate death does not permit live cameras inside the courtroom. The prohibition is based on a long-standing state civil rights law, with judges and lawmakers citing concerns over fair trial rights and witness intimidation. Here is a breakdown of why cameras are not allowed, along with other key details about the trial's media access. Protection of witness and juror safety. The state law aims to prevent the harassment, intimidation, or coercion of witnesses and jurors that could occur if their faces and testimony were widely broadcast. I know they don't show jurors on camera. I can see how it could cause that for witnesses. Preventing grandstanding. The judiciary fears that the presence of cameras could cause lawyers and other participants to, quote, play to the camera, which could negatively affect courtroom decorum and the impartiality of the proceedings. Mitigating undue publicity. Widespread broadcasts have the potential to create a, quote, media circus, which some judges believe could influence the jury pool and jeopardize a defendant's right to a fair trial, a concern that was magnified after the O.J. Simpson trial. Long-standing tradition. While many other states permit cameras, New York has historically been resistant. An experimental program in the 1990s was allowed to expire, and subsequent efforts to permit cameras in trial courts have failed. While live broadcast cameras are banned, the media still has access to the proceedings. In some cases, judges may allow still photographers to take pictures at designated times, such as before proceedings begin, which is why photographs of high-profile defendants in New York courtrooms are sometimes released. For high-interest cases like the Marcy death trial, the New York State court system may provide a video feed to an overflow room. Members of the press and public can watch the trial from this room in real time, which still limits the public's direct access to live broadcasts. It is important not to confuse live media cameras with the body camera footage being presented as evidence in the trial. I'm not sure why they put that disclaimer. Yeah, so there we have it. New York state law. New York state law. Yeah, Ocean Tide, it does make sense, but watching a trial is interesting. I completely agree. And it's full transparency. But thankfully, we have that one news station that is doing a live stream blog, or a live blog, I should say. Lunatic says, I bet it would be quite inflammatory for the mass public to see those videos. It should cause widespread anger and outrage. I agree. And I mean, the videos, the body cam videos are public. They were released. And speaking of, some of you may have seen that New York State's Attorney General has been indicted. Letitia James. I mean, talk about controversy. Hey, Grain. 100%, and we wouldn't want that. This is a very sensitive case. It was so bad. It was so bad. That is true. It causes out of control riots. I agree. And I mean, I can see where they say, you know, especially in upstate New York, I mean, the town that this is taking place in, it's, I mean, well, I guess it's, you know, Utica is pretty populated. Let me see. But it's not like, you know, like New York City, Utica. well, 64,000. And this is taking place in Oneida County. All right, so that is all that I've got for the Robert Brooks death trial. Monday, no court. So Tuesday, I will be back with more updates on the case. I'm thinking the jury may actually get it. Well, I don't know, because without Monday, I feel like it would go into the following week. But we'll have to see. I don't know who the defense is planning on calling. I know there's one more correctional officer that the prosecution is going to be calling. And then I'm not sure who else they might have for witnesses. Ugh, Grain, right? Can you imagine if Mr. Brooks had a body camera on? And, you know, like the prosecutor said in opening, can you imagine what this case would be if I didn't have that body cam footage? There probably wouldn't even be a trial. I don't know. I mean, I guess he would try, but without video evidence, I don't know. It would be a lot harder. I'll say that. True, that could happen with this case, listening to the fact he didn't do anything. Yeah. All right, so we are going to transition to the man who was arrested for allegedly starting what became the Palisades fire, and seems like he is a troubled person, which I feel like we all knew. So I do have a New York Times article we're going to take a look at, and then I have a news clip where a lot of information is coming out about this guy. He's an interesting person, that's for sure. That footage sealed the deal. I sure hope so, Evil Queen. And I don't think they've said the... Let me see if I go to, let's see. I don't think I probably didn't look, but I don't know if they said the composition of the jury. Not that it would necessarily matter, but it would be interesting. Let me see. Here we go. I just found it. So a 12-person jury and 4 alternates have been selected for the trial of 3 former corrections officers charged in the death of inmate Robert Brooks. The jury consists of 8 women and 4 men. That will be interesting. So 8 women, 4 men. It doesn't say what the composition of the alternates are. All right, let me add this. That guy that moved the sandbag on West Quincy Levee got life without parole. I don't know if I know what that is, Pookie. Heather says, did y'all see that story? That woman ended up deceased over not saying thank you for a door being held open. What? No, I have not seen that. Jeez. Yeah, people need to take a breath. You know, like this person trying to expose me after 2.5 years. You know, like I responded to them, like, do you need a cookie? Do you need ice cream? Like, do you wake up this angry? Like, life, there is so many great things in life. I don't know why people are so angry. I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, during the 93 flood. Okay. Gotcha, Pookie. All right. So moving to Jonathan Rinderknecht, 29. I was actually correct in his age. I always second guess myself because I never trust my memory. What we know about the Florida man arrested in the LA wildfire case. The man accused of starting a fire that would later ignite they have a typo. Later ignite one of the most destructive conflagrations in California history was described on Thursday as a lonely young man whose mental health had been declining and who looked to ChatGPT for guidance. A day earlier, the authorities in Los Angeles said in court documents that Jonathan Rinderknecht used a lighter to start a small fire on a hiking trail in the early hours of New Year's Day. Firefighters believed it was extinguished by the next day. But nearly a week later, investigators said fearsome winds fanned smoldering embers from that blaze to become the Palisades fire, which killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. I believe they had said 6,800. Well, at least 6,800 buildings. On Thursday, Mr. Rinderknecht appeared in court in Orlando, Florida, about 70 miles from where he was living. Here's what we know about him. Who is Jonathan? According to public records, court documents, and information from Thursday's court hearing, Jonathan, 29, has lived a peripatetic life. Geez, New York Times, you're using words I've never seen. Peripatetic. Okay, so peripatetic is traveling from place to place, in particular working or based in various places for relatively short periods. So like a nomad? Oh, peripatetic is also an Aristotelian philosopher. Like, why not just say nomadic life? I know that word. Okay, so he has lived a peripatetic life with a far-flung network of family and acquaintances. Since 2016, he has been associated with addresses in Michigan, Florida, and California. He told investigators that he grew up in France and speaks French fluently and still has family there. A federal prosecutor said in a court hearing on Thursday that he had discussed plans recently to move to Bali. Whenever I hear Bali, I think of that movie Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore. When she's in class and she has that sombrero on and they ask her, I don't remember, they ask her where she's from and she says Bali or something like that. In recent years, he had been living with a romantic partner in the LA area starting in 2020, the prosecutor said on Thursday. The relationship ended in 2023. Several months ago, Jonathan moved in with his sister, his brother-in-law, and their 2 children in Melbourne, Florida. His lawyer in Florida, Aziza Hawthorne, an assistant federal defender, said in court that he has no criminal history and that he is working with a psychiatrist who has prescribed him medication. Ms. Hawthorne pointed out that his sisters and brother were in the courtroom to support him. But federal prosecutors told a different story. Jonathan's deteriorating mental health and apparent access to firearms made him dangerous to have in a home with young children. His sister and brother-in-law had tried unsuccessfully to get him to move out, in part with help from his father, who flew from France to Florida. At one point, after police officers were called to their house, Jonathan's brother-in-law told the local police that, quote, he would burn the house down, end quote. According to Uber, he is no longer driving for the company and has been banned from the app. Jonathan has also been driving for DoorDash, according to public records. Well, interesting. Right, Green? On New Year's Eve, Jonathan had been driving for Uber, according to an affidavit in support of the federal complaint. And for those of you who missed my live that I had done on this story initially, we did go through the criminal complaint, which was very detailed and just gave a lot of information. I mean, they have this guy's timeline pretty much down to a T. Federal investigators said they determined that Mr. Rinderknecht had dropped off passengers before hiking nearby to a spot known as the Skull Rock Trailhead. Cell phone and camera data they examined showed he was the only one there at the time the fire ignited. His passenger said later that he seemed angry and agitated that night. He tried to call 911 multiple times before finally getting through, according to the affidavit. They said he took video at the trailhead and offered to help firefighters extinguish the blaze when he encountered them as he left the scene. Local firefighters believe that smaller fire, the Lockman fire, was extinguished by January 2nd, but on January 7th, an unusually fierce windstorm reignited invisible smoldering embers, according to investigators. Those would rage out of control and become the Palisades fire. Investigators said they found evidence that Jonathan was fascinated with fire and destruction, citing his online history, including ChatGPT prompts. Investigators also pointed to Jonathan's affinity for a French rap song, Uns dir, uns die, by the artist Jossman, which describes despair and, is it malaise? Jonathan listened to the song 9 times in the 4 days leading up to the January 1st fire. He had also watched the song's music video, which depicts the artist lighting things on fire. A federal prosecutor, Rachel Lyons, suggested in court on Thursday that Jonathan was feeling lonely just before New Year's Day. 2 days before the fire, he had texted his former partner, who responded, "I need space." He also reached out to another individual who didn't remember him. Oh gosh, that's terrible. Prosecutors have charged Jonathan with maliciously starting a fire that damaged and destroyed federal property. The New Year's Day fire that they say he started, known as the Lockman Fire, burned federal land within the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area, as well as land owned by the state and a conservation group, both of which receive federal funding. A single person's recklessness caused one of the worst fires LA has ever seen. If convicted, Jonathan faces up to 20 years in prison. That's not enough time. That is not enough time. 20 years? Investigators with the ATF said at a news conference on Wednesday that they examined more than 13,000 pieces of evidence and more than 1 million phone records as part of their investigation. Okay, and then it gets into the Palisades fire. So I do have a clip just to I do have one more story that I wanted to show you about Lorenz Kraus, someone who was on the grand jury, spoke with local news. So we'll take a look at that and then we'll call it a day. Some people are natural firebugs. I agree with that. Ice cream and mustard. Mustard on eggs, Yaya? I would have never thought of that. Oh, Coddle said, my brother said mustard and vanilla ice cream is really good. I think I'll pass. Yes, Evil Queen, 12 people did die. I mean, And that's the thing, like, he shouldn't just be charged with starting the fire. He should be charged with murder. If not for his actions, they wouldn't be dead. But then again, this is federal court. I'm hoping that local charges will also be filed against this guy. But we'll have to see how it...
And we begin with new details about the man accused of igniting the Palisades fire. I'm Kathy Vara.
And I'm Annabelle Sedano. Michael and Colleen have the night off. Today, 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht made a second appearance in a federal courtroom in Florida, where a judge decided he will stay in jail for the foreseeable future.
He faces a single federal arson charge, but prosecutors say he will likely face far more serious charges.
And NBC4 Investigates has also learned...
Okay, so that makes me feel a little bit better that he faces a single federal arson charge, but other charges are pending. Possibly.
About some interactions Rinderknecht had with police here in L.A. Our investigative reporter, Eric Leonard, is in the newsroom with those latest details.
Hi there. Well, the judge in Florida made the decision to keep Rinderknecht locked up after an ATF agent testified today that the 29-year-old had threatened to burn down a house in West Melbourne, Florida, where he'd been staying with relatives.
Jeez.
We've also tracked down some court and police records that show Rinderknecht recently reported that he was the victim of an attempted sexual assault. Well, these are court sketches of Rinderknecht during the appearance in court in Orlando, Florida, where the judge ordered him to remain locked up and in the custody of the U.S. Marshal, probably until trial. The ATF agent who testified about the alleged threats also told the court that Rinderknecht's family members had told authorities they were worried that Rinderknecht had a gun, and they were increasingly concerned about his mental health. A defense lawyer for Rinderknecht unsuccessfully argued that he could be released on bond and told the court that he'd been the victim of a recent assault. Well, NBC4 Investigates found court records and some police logs that show officers were sent to his apartment on Sycamore in Hollywood last year. This is after Rinderknecht said his male neighbor tried to sexually assault him. According to a lawsuit Rinderknecht tried to file, the neighbor began smoking crack cocaine while inside the apartment, then tried to pull down Rinderknecht's pants and assault him. He said in the lawsuit that police made an arrest, but we couldn't find records to confirm if that actually happened. Now, Rinderknecht was arrested.
Oh my gosh. I mean, he did call police, but it'd be interesting to know if the police ever did arrest someone for doing that. That's terrible.
Earlier this week in Florida on that federal arson charge for allegedly starting the January 1st Lackman brush fire in the Pacific Highlands, or the Palisades Highlands. The ATF said its investigation concluded that smoldering roots underground reignited during high winds on January 7th, making Rinderknecht responsible for starting both fires. During that hearing in federal court in Florida, the prosecutor told the judge that it is possible and likely more charges will be filed, including some charges for the deaths of the 12 people who died as a result of the Palisades fire. Convictions on those charges could even lead to a possible death sentence, but it's not clear when Rinderknecht will be brought back to Southern California. He has another court date in Florida next week. I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News. Back to you in the studio.
Eric, thank you. And we are now hearing from homeowners 24 hours after the L.A. Fire Department released its after-action report on the Palisades fire. We first told you about the report as breaking news yesterday. In it, the L.A. Fire Department listed a number of issues.
And I was looking up something, and I decided to look at Google Maps where the Palisades fire took place, and it is so heartbreaking. Just the devastation when you see it in that scale on a map. It's just everything is gone. Like, this dude needs to be in prison for life, if not get the death penalty. And as Oceanside said, it's best he's in jail. Sounds like he is too dangerous to be out. I agree.
It's about the first 36 hours of the Palisades fire. That includes staffing shortages, communication problems, lack of sleep, and unprecedented hurricane-force winds. We spoke to one man who lost his home.
We all knew that these winds were coming. For a week in advance, we knew these winds were coming. And so that's frustrating that we weren't better prepared. There should have been crews deployed beforehand strategically. Every minute is important when a fire erupts under those conditions, every single minute.
You know, and maybe because of this, right? I mean, they thought they had the fire extinguished. What they didn't realize is that the fire was still smoldering underground in the root systems. Like maybe like this guy says, like if there's been a fire somewhere and there's winds coming, just as a precaution to have at least one truck station there in case something does ignite. That is, I mean, hopefully something is learned from all this.
NBC4's Carmen Dickerson is in Pacific Palisades for us tonight. She'll have more reaction coming up on the news at 6.
And right now on the NBCLA app, you can read the case against Rinderknecht and the LAFD's after-action report about their response to the Palisades fire. You can also find that online at NBCLA.com.
Grand jury has indicted Lorenz Kraus in connection with the 2017 homicide of his parents.
Stop. We're not ready yet. I forgot it was on autoplay. I was looking up, I was going to go to the map just to show y'all what I was talking about. Open in maps. And actually, I saw an article that I think I might read. Like, yeah, let me show you this. This is like, it's so freaking sad. So here is the Pacific Palisades. And you can see this is all gone. All of this. You can see the houses here. And then all of this brown. This is all homes that are gone. I mean, he should have to, something should have to give with this guy. Just, well, this little section is still there. But, I mean, entire neighborhoods gone. All right, so let's get back over here. So I do have one more story, and that is about Lorenz Kraus. For those of you who don't know who Lorenz is, he is a man who has been arrested for the deaths of his parents in 2017. And he admitted that he strangled his dad and choked, or actually I should say he choked his dad, strangled his mom, and he lived with their bodies for a few days while he deliberated what he should do. He decided to bury them in the backyard, but continued to collect their Social Security benefits. So, as there was a financial crimes investigation going on, he had reached out to WRGB to talk about it. And while they were interviewing him, he admitted to killing his parents. So now he has been indicted and charged. And this is a grand jury panelist talks about Kraus indictment. So I have not watched this, so this is going to be new to me as well. Yeah, Oceantide. He confessed on TV.
Grand jury has indicted Lorenz Kraus in connection with the 2017 homicide of his parents. The case against him now going on to county court. You may recall Kraus confessing to killing the parents in a TV interview last week.
Right, Heather. Such a terrible way to die. And when he was asked about it, he said, what did Greg Floyd had asked something like, did they suffer? And he responded, it was quick. And then the one thing that stuck out to me is when the Mr. Floyd was asking him about like why did he decide, or how did he decide to kill his mom? He said, you know, he had seen his mom laying her head was laying on his dad's chest, and he needed to, quote, finish her. And apparently he's married. That's what we found out when he was in court the last time, that he has a wife. Where she is, nobody knows.
After a Social Security investigation unveiled human remains in the backyard of his parents' home on Crestwood Court in Albany. He was arraigned in city court on Friday, where he pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder and concealment of a human corpse. He's expected to be arraigned in county court on the grand jury indictment in the coming days. Now, in an exclusive interview, News 10's James De La Fuente talking with a member of the grand jury panel. He has more now on the TV confession that shocked the Capital Region.
How could somebody do this to their parents?
Those are the words spoken by a person who says they were on the grand jury that indicted Mr. Kraus.
I couldn't believe that they had gotten away with it for 8 years and nobody reported it or noticed.
The juror said the decision to indict Kraus came swiftly.
It did not take time. It was like the quickest case we had.
The juror says they had not seen Kraus's TV confession, but said, in their opinion, an indictment was necessary. George LaMarche, an attorney not associated with this case, tells me that Kraus's televised confession will be admissible in court.
He was not at a police station. He wasn't ordered to be there.
Well, that will be interesting. And I agree. He wasn't in handcuffs. He wasn't forced to be there. He actually wanted to be there. He's the one who reached out to the news to begin with. And he wanted to talk about his document. He kept saying his document, which he wanted to make a board of trustees, like get rid of government and make a board of trustees where he was one of the founding members. Very, very delusional writings, in my opinion.
He wasn't in handcuffs. There was no pressure to give his statement. And for those reasons, it appears to be completely voluntary and therefore will be able to be used against him at a trial.
The attorney says the defense has an option.
Is there some argument that they could make about why that confession could be suppressed, which is the key piece of evidence in this case? Is there some psychiatric defense or extreme emotional disturbance defense that the defense could assert to try to mitigate or minimize the outcome of the case?
As for how the confession was obtained, he says,
it is normal for the police to try to elicit a confession from someone. What's the easiest path to a conviction? It's a confession. That's routine practice in the police world. That's exactly what they want. It makes their path to a conviction much easier.
Kraus is expected in Albany court for an arraignment on the indictment. Tomorrow night, the community on Crestwood Court, where the parents were buried, will be holding a candlelight vigil at 7 p.m. to remember Franz and Teresa Kraus. Reporting in Albany, James De La Fuente, News 10.
All right, so there we have it. And I just remembered there was one more story that I wanted to read. And if we're interested in this, I will look more into it, but I'm not sure how in depth it goes. I had seen a video about it on YouTube, but I did find this article from People. Woman got pregnant in jail without physical contact with baby's father. And now she's on trial for murder. And I have seen this trial is being televised, I believe. I've seen it streaming on YouTube. This is such a bizarre story. So bizarre. And there she is. Daisy Link. Her name is Daisy Link. A Florida woman who previously became pregnant while in jail is now on trial for murder. Daisy Link made headlines in 2024 when she gave birth to a baby whose father was also in jail at the time of conception, despite the two having never met in person or having any physical contact. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Link had been in jail on murder charges at the time, court records indicate. Her trial began on Wednesday, October 8th. Court records indicate that Link was charged with the murder in June 2022, 2 years before she later gave birth. NBC6, Local 10, and CBS Miami reported that Link is accused of killing her partner, Pedro Jimenez, who was fatally shot. During the second day of her trial Thursday, NBC reported that prosecutors played body cam footage from the aftermath of the shooting in court. Prosecutors reportedly claimed that when police arrived, Link misled investigators by pretending she had just found Jimenez suffering from a gunshot wound. In the footage, which was published by NBC6, Link can be heard saying, "I see a hole from the back and a hole from the front. He was shot in his leg." She can also be heard yelling, "I saw him laying there." NBC6 and Local 10 both reported that Link's attorneys have since admitted that she shot Jimenez, but are arguing that she killed him in self-defense. The evidence will show the victim was out of control, her attorney Ayuban Tomas argued, according to Local 10. He was unhinged and he was dangerous. She fired a shot to get him to go away. WSVN reported that while in jail, Link had that baby of Joan DePaz, who is also accused of murder. The outlet reported that the two used bedding to make a line between their two vents, which DePaz reportedly said he then used to pass semen rolled in saran wrap to Link in her cell. "I can't believe it worked," Link told WSVN. "I think everything happened for a reason." So, but I would assume that, I mean, I don't think men and women are housed on the same floor, right? Okay, maybe I need to look. Let me just see if there's a Google video or a YouTube video on this. And I should have saved the one I had. Let me just look up Daisy Link. Like I said, it is bizarre. It is bizarre. Oh, it is being televised. It is called the Toxic Relationship Murder Trial. That might be very interesting to watch. Let's see. Let's see if Brian Etten has anything. He does. Okay, here's one. News Nation. This is a quick one. Well, not quick. It's 6 minutes, but Brian Etten's is like 30 minutes. Okay, let's see what Ashley Banfield has to say.
Daisy Link has been a lot of things in her 30 years. A wife, a mother.
Oh my gosh, the title. Locked Up and Knocked Up. But how?
An accused murderer, and for a time, a scientific curiosity, a medical marvel. In 2022, Daisy shot her husband, Pedro, in the leg in a South Florida alleyway. She says she did it in self-defense after years of abuse. Too bad for her, though, and for Pedro. The bullet hit an artery, and Pedro bled out and died.
Oh, geez.
Daisy was charged with his murder and promptly locked up in the county jail. Her trial began just this week, but it is what happened to Daisy Link while locked up in that county jail in the fall of 2023 that made her such a media and medical sensation, not to mention made her a mom. Daisy Link got pregnant. The thing is, she hadn't been in contact with men, and authorities found no evidence of sexual battery, guards and stuff. But DNA tests showed something that did make sense.
Oh boy, look at this dude. And like, how would you even meet the guy? Like, what?
That the father was, in fact, a fellow inmate. What didn't make sense is that he was separated from her by 2 floors. This is the baby daddy in question. His name is...
Okay, so I was right. 2 floors. They were separated. So they used an air vent and like he dropped it down 2 floors just where hers was? What? Brian Etten explained better. Okay. We might have to do a live stream on this.
Joan DePaz. And like Daisy, he's an accused murderer. There's somebody for everybody, folks. DePaz's cell was on the 6th floor. Daisy's was on the 4th floor.
Okay.
And jails don't exactly have mixers, on Friday nights. So how on earth did these two even meet, let alone, make a baby?
That's my question.
Corrections officials wanted to know the very same thing. So they got down to the nitty-gritty and they investigated. And now my colleague, Brian Enton, has gotten his hands on some video
here
and
we
some
go.
handwritten notes and phone calls that really tell the whole story. And you have to see it to believe it. The key to the mystery is an air duct. Here's the baby daddy himself sort of starting it all off.
An air duct. Like, this is, he was 2 floors below her. Oh my gosh.
Well, I know her for a little minute, you feel me? So we was talking, back and forth, and...
How were you talking to her?
Nah, through the vent.
Through the vent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the vents. Anybody would say I'm crazy, or you talking to the vent, yeah. And then we was talking, and then we got to know each other better, and then, I'm like, I really want a baby, because, I got a murder, and I might never go home, so...
Okay, so he said he really wanted a baby, but he got a murder, and he might never go home. So I'm gonna have a baby with a woman who also is accused of murder. That makes no sense, sir. So your baby is going to grow up without both of you. Possibly.
So I'll pick it up from there. The two not only talked through the vent, but they ended up swapping notes through the vent as well. And we got copies of them. Here's one where Joanne writes, "My snuggle wuggle baby girl."
My snuggle wuggle baby girl. Okay.
I wonder what kind of credit he gets for that in prison. Well, jail right now. Another note looks like a list of baby names. And Daisy says they were able to send their notes through the air duct on a cable that they'd fashioned out of bedding material. And one day,
that makes
they
sense.
realized that if they could pass notes back and forth, they could pass others.
Right, Center? Like, what the actual F? He sent his semen via air vent. Lover's secret. Like, I don't mean to laugh because they did kill people. But the fact that this even happened is preposterous.
Things, more personal things, such as Joanne DePaz's semen. Stay with me. DePaz would later tell a reporter, and I will quote him, "I put the semen in saran wrap every day, like 5 times a day, for like a month straight, and then sent it down the line to Daisy on the 4th floor, who, in her words, administered it with a yeast infection applicator." So yeah, creative.
Oh my God.
Before this was all common knowledge, the pair even discussed their plans on the phone. Remember, they'd never met face to face. So have a listen to that conversation.
So you think you're pregnant?
I don't know. I still haven't had my period.
You think that work?
I don't know. It probably could. I'm telling you, I was supposed to have my period. I don't know.
Damn, babe, have you been on it for real?
I swear to God on my kids, I do it every time.
Real, for real, like deep.
And she has other kids, as she just said.
Like, in there?
Yes.
You make sure it's in there?
Yes, like
oh my God.
Because real sperm's supposed to be in you, then shoot out like a water hose.
This guy. Like, come on. Right? Yeah. Sperm will travel. Maybe this will be a good story to do on my second channel. This is very dramatic. And I mean, even like I said, it's serious because they're both in jail for murdering someone. But what? I'm wondering if there's other stories like this out there.
It was definitely in me, all the way in there. I did it every time.
Okay, I did hear the laughing. I'm going to ask about that in a minute. But if your head is spinning right now, how would you like to be Daisy Link's mom when her incarcerated daughter broke the news to her by phone?
Oh, God.
We have that too. Take a
Oh,
listen.
God.
Under 24-hour lockdown because I'm pregnant.
You're full of shit.
I swear to God.
You're full of shit. This is shocking.
What do you mean? I'm going to sue. I'm going to get out. You know how much I could sue them for? This was all planned. I can get out now. If they would have let me out of the Arthur hearing, I wouldn't have got pregnant.
You know what? You're stupid. Don't talk on this phone.
Did you catch that last part? No.
So she did it to try to get out of prison? She's saying now I can get out?
The one where she says you're stupid. She says don't talk something on this phone. Shit. Whether this baby was a love child or a miracle or both, mom-to-be was also hoping, it seems, that it would be her get-out-of-jail-free card.
What?
P.S. Daisy and Joanne's baby girl was born in June of last year and is now living with Joanne's mother.
Thank you for watching.
What the heck? Okay, I may have to look into that. I'm not sure. I'll do some more investigating to see what, if anything, there is. But I think that's probably all she wrote. Like this girl thought she was gonna get a free jail card because she got pregnant. Right? It is. It's like the Twilight Zone. Curious. I lead a very boring life. I mean, I can see like the conversing and the notes and, you know, like talking through the vents, but like all of that other stuff, like, I don't know. And the fact that he would even entertain the idea of, well, I mean, he said he wanted a baby. So what better way than to have a baby with a woman you've never met? And now his mother is raising the baby. I don't know. Oh, and that reminds me too. I posted that picture on my community wall, but I didn't look at the poll that I had posted about Bianca Ellis's trial. Let me just see where that stands. Let's see. Oh man, they're saying that with this nor'easter coming up the coast, they think more homes at the Outer Banks might fall into the ocean. That was so sad. Let's see. Okay, so 52% said yes, 48% said no. So let me share this link in chat. If you haven't voted, please do so. I had covered this story when it happened, and this woman went on a stabbing spree in a grocery store parking lot, ended up killing a toddler, sadly. And so she is currently on trial. So I was wondering if you wanted to watch her trial, because I do have Monday off, so we could, you know, we'll probably still be behind, but at least we can skip over the breaks and lunch and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so definitely vote. I do want to get on my other channel for a live stream tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I haven't really been following the drama, but if you haven't seen Jonesen's new short, you have to go see it. And actually, let me get that link while I'm thinking about it. I'll put that in chat too. I was watching it on loop. I just, the mix of songs was like incredible. It just, that needs to be a collaboration. That needs to be a collaboration. Let me go to her. And if you don't know who Jonesen is, you will if you check out her short. So let me... Shorts. It's called... What did she call it? Well, y'all hoes stay mad. Well, y'all hoes stay mad. And she's almost to 200 likes. So we can get her there for sure. I already gave it the thumbs up, but definitely check it out. It's a collaboration between Alanis Morissette and I think is it Cardi B? I don't even know who it is. I gotta look it up now. Oh, Nicki Minaj. So I was close. It's not Cardi B. It is Nicki Minaj. Bees in the Trap featuring 2 Chainz. So it was a mix of Alanis Morissette and Nicki Minaj. And it is genius, in my opinion. It is genius. All right, y'all. Well, have a great night. I will hopefully see you tomorrow on my second channel. I am going to share that link as well. If you haven't been over there, that is where I keep the drama part of things. But thankfully, there hasn't been really any drama concerning me. And that's the way I like it. That's the way I like it. I am still working on the timeline. I just, with work and, you know, the cases that I want to talk about, I just haven't had time to work on it. So maybe this weekend I'll, excuse me, have time to do that. So there's my second channel. If you haven't subbed up, I would highly recommend you do. I try to go live once a week on that channel. So last time I checked, I was at 399 subs. So maybe I can get to 400 tonight. So have a great night, day, morning, wherever you are. If you are watching this on the replay, #replay, leave a comment below. And until next time, y'all, I will see you on the flip side.
You have one shot on stage, what you got to play. Generic drops for days, still the people rage. Am I not insane? Drops are so lame, is money buying you fame? I'm fucking on, I'm killing it with this song. You haters can sing along or go back where you belong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with giving up, moving on. Cause I took your girl to prom, she can't help but sing this song. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out and my high raps. I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out and my high raps. I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. I rap with a passion, yeah, I got it in me. I've been waiting quite a long time for y'all to hear me. It's about damn time you put some stock into me. You're either sponsoring me or fuck this. We just practice on this madness. That is why your status is like a canvas. Chances are advancement is enhancing, and this new expansion's like a mansion. Comes on till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears. I'll rip this shit till my bones collapse, till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth